Okay, today on Chump Talk, we have a very special guest join us. He started his professional coaching career with 4 years as assistant coach for the Plymouth Whalers. He then moved on to the Kitchener Rangers, where he spent 13 seasons, becoming the head coach and GM at year 7, going on to win a Memorial Cup in 2003. In 2013, he made the jump to the AHL head coach in the Toronto Marlies for a season before joining the Leafs as assistant coach the next season. He made the move to San Jose for 5 seasons as an assistant coach and is currently entering his 3rd season as assistant coach for the Las Vegas Golden Knights. Steve Spott, thank you so much for joining the show today.
Great to have you. Great to be on, Brady and Matt. Thanks so much for having me on. I appreciate it.
Did I screw anything up in that intro?
No, it was good.
Okay.
Thankfully, like I said, it's a lot of memories go through when you hear stuff like that. But no, it was perfect. But all kidding aside, being local Kitchener-Waterloo guys, it's great to be on your show.
Appreciate that.
Appreciate it. Yeah, as Brady said too, just a huge thanks for taking the time. I know it's a busy time for you, as this is the first day of on ice for training camp for you in Vegas. So just kind of talk about that and what the weeks were like leading up to it, as the NHL season is just about to become underway again.
Yeah, you know what, Matt? It was an exciting day for us. The first day where we had all our veteran players and all our first year prospects on the ice together, with practice and with scrimmages. So it was great to see everybody intermingled and on the ice together. Last week we were in Scottsdale, Arizona, at the rookie development camp and watched our young players compete in games there against the likes of Arizona and Los Angeles and Colorado and San Jose. So it was good to see the young guys in that tournament against their peers, and now they have to take the next step against our veteran players here in Vegas.
Talk about what this first day on the ice looks like, because I know as massive NHL fans like ourselves, seeing everything come out on social media, the number one thing I saw today was just like guys being bag skated and guys just looking exhausted on the ice. Is that something that kind of is happening first day every year in training camp? And then the other thing on social media that we saw come out today was a quote from Pete DeBoer, head coach, and a good friend of yours. He was at the media face to face, and the first thing he said to the media is, "They look better in masks." So it's just as NHL fans, it's awesome to see stuff about the NHL because it means it's right around the corner. But talk about what this first week is like, and especially the first day. Is it a lot of bag skating?
You know what? Not for us. I think anyone that's played for Pete or worked with Pete, he tries to get our work done in the drills. So our practice pace, the way our drills are designed, it's to get that element of conditioning involved in that. So we like you, the assistant coaches in our office, we saw some of the social media, pictures and videos of players in different organizations getting skated. But one thing Pete has always preached is we'll get our conditioning done in drills. So our guys, thankfully, and I'm sure they were very happy that they didn't have to go through that type of on-ice regiment. The second part, again, it's an exciting time, but it's an evaluation. We have a veteran club here in Vegas, but at the same time, there's always good young players pushing for jobs. So for us as a coaching staff, it's identifying which are our top prospects and then seeing whether or not they can make the jump here in training camp. And from there, the next step is preseason, regular season, and then obviously the playoffs. So as you move on here, it just keeps getting harder, and the level of play gets better and better.
Talk about the expectations a little bit for Vegas this season and just Vegas in general. Like, it's obviously the newest franchise in the league there. And anybody that's ever been to a game there has had nothing but great things to say about the atmosphere and everything like that. And just what do you guys hope to accomplish in Vegas this season?
Well, again, Kelly McCrimmon addressed our group yesterday, and the first thing he talked about was high expectations, and that's what you want as a player. That's what you want as a coaching staff is when your ownership and your management has high expectations, and that's the bar that's set here in Vegas. There's very high expectations, and we don't shy away from that. So, our plan is obviously to earn our way into the playoffs, and then from there, try to get through the playoffs and get to our ultimate goal of trying to win a Stanley Cup. It's easier said than done, but that's the expectation of the organization. So that's great for us. And the other side of that, Matt, is we're no longer the newest franchise. We've got the Seattle Kraken in right now too. So we actually get to play them opening night, which is
no way.
We do. So that's really, really exciting for us. So, we've had an opportunity to see their uniforms like everybody else. So to actually play the first regular season game against the Seattle Kraken here in Vegas, I think that's going to be a special moment for everybody involved.
100%. And now the new franchise tag is off, you guys, so you're ready to roll too. I'm gonna ask a question. I'm not sure you thought maybe you'd get asked on this one, and we're gonna get back to Vegas, but because you have a very storied coaching career going, but you also had a professional career playing, and I want to ask just a quick question about that. So you did your 4 years in college, and then you went AHL for part of a season, then ECHL for part of a season. But in 1991, 1992, you went to the Netherlands for a year, and you put up 47 points in 30 games for the Fordo Flyers. If I don't know if I said that right, but give us a quick rundown on that 1 year and what changed for you.
You know, it's a great question. I think every young player, there's certain players that are going to go on and obviously be American Hockey League players and maybe National Hockey League players. I think once you get in your 20s, you kind of have an idea of where probably your career is going to be heading. And mine was heading into teaching and into the classroom. But I wanted to give that opportunity of pro hockey a chance. You work so hard since you're 7 years of age. I grew up in Toronto, and you want to see what it's like to play professional hockey. I had obviously a very good college opportunity at Colgate University and played in a national championship. But I really wanted to try to play pro hockey. So I did that in North America, in Richmond and in Newmarket in the American Hockey League. And then I wanted to go overseas. My girlfriend at the time, who's now my wife, we went over to the Netherlands and just had a blast. We had an opportunity to make a couple of bucks, but it was more about the experience of playing in the Netherlands, seeing the world. We went to Paris, Belgium, Germany. So it was an opportunity that, again, I would really, really promote to any young player that if you think you've got a legitimate chance to play in North America in the National Hockey League or the American Hockey League, great. But if not, if you have a chance to see the world and have somebody pay for you to do that, I highly recommend that.
Oh, that's awesome.
Between the OHL, AHL, and NHL, you've got a lot of coaching experience racked up behind you. But before all that, just kind of talk about what got you into coaching. Where does the passion come from? Is that kind of something that you've seen yourself doing even in your younger days, even when you were playing hockey, is like, and even in the Netherlands there? What was always the plan for you?
It's funny. I was talking to Chris Playfair and my son, Ty, and Jack DeBoer all grew up together in the Waterloo area, played, for the Waterloo Wolves. Chris Playfair played in the Windsor Spitfire organization in the Ontario Hockey League. And we were talking about our paths, and we were on a call with him not too long ago, Pete and I. And you know what? I think when you're in junior hockey or in college hockey, if you have a chance to work hockey schools, it gives you a really good element of what it's like to blow a whistle, to teach, to give back some of your time and your expertise. And Chris Playfair now is doing that. He's going on to college hockey himself, but he runs a hockey school in the summer. And that's how I grew up. I grew up running hockey schools, shooting at hockey schools, and I always enjoyed working with other players. So I think for me, when I went to Colgate, I was a major in education, came out with a degree in education and wanted to teach, and had an opportunity to work in the classroom in Scarborough, and then coach junior hockey or tier 2 hockey at the same time. So for me, it was just a blending of both, where you had an opportunity to teach and work in hockey. So coaching was the right fit for me, and very, very fortunate to have made it to this level, because I didn't have a dad or an uncle or a friend open a door for me. I got very lucky and obviously had an opportunity to win a few games and get to this level. But teaching and coaching always went hand in hand with me.
Talk about your time in Plymouth. So 1997, 1998, you started your first season in the OHL with Plymouth, stayed there for 4 years. That organization obviously doesn't exist now, but at the time it was a very good organization. What was it like, or even your first season, was it just crazy for you that you were coaching in the OHL?
Yeah, it was. You know what? I left. I was teaching. I was living with my mom and dad, had a real good, comfortable life, and had an opportunity to meet Pete DeBoer through a mutual friend, Adam Graves, longtime NHLer. And Pete asked me to scout for him while I was working junior hockey in Ontario with the Markham Waxers. I did, and then gave me an opportunity to join his staff as an assistant coach in Plymouth, Michigan, which is just outside of Detroit. And there was no looking back. Once I got the bug to do this full time, there was no looking back. It's something that I wanted to do. I felt I had something to offer, and just really enjoyed going to work every day. So that's how it started. Plymouth was great. Some great players that came through the Plymouth, Michigan organization back in the day. They're now in Flint. But again, a real good baptism to coaching full-time in the Ontario Hockey League. So one that I'm very grateful to have had.
And going off that, out of the last 24 years, I believe 17 of them you've worked with Pete. So just kind of talk about your relationship with Pete, where that all started. I did read an article that it even started in your teenager years. So just kind of talk about how your guys' friendship started and how you guys are where you are today.
Yeah, you know what? We met through Adam Graves. Adam went to play for the Windsor Spitfires where Pete was playing. Adam and I grew up in Toronto together. And when I went to Colgate, Pete and Adam went to Windsor. In the summer times, you'd get together, work hockey schools together, play golf together, take the odd trip here and there together. So that's where Pete and I formed a relationship, was through Adam Graves. And when he went into coaching and I went into coaching, we just thought there might be a good fit for the two of us to get together. And as you said, Matt, there's been no looking back. You know, the great thing about working with Pete, people say all the time, what's it like working with him? The greatest strength that I feel that he has as an assistant coach is he doesn't micromanage his staff. He gives you responsibility. He trusts his people. He's not always peering over your shoulder. He allows you to get involved in practice. He allows you to get involved in video with communication to players. So for us as assistant coaches to work with him, it's a dream because of the fact that he does give us a lot of responsibility, and we really appreciate that.
And then going off that, how cool is it for you now to see your kids like Ty and Jack? Obviously, we got to talk to both of them, so that's what we see. I'm sure the rest of your families are very close too. But how cool is it for you to see the younger generation of Spott and DeBoer coming up and still being so close?
And you know what? And they really are brothers. It's amazing how that has formed. The two boys really are brothers. The way they are in the summertime together, they golf, they fish, they do everything that brothers would do on a daily basis. So, you know, for us, it's obviously transcended our jobs. It really has become a family dynamic between my wife, Lisa, his wife, Sue. It truly has become a family dynamic. And, you know, the one thing we want to do is win a Stanley Cup, Brady. I think for us, that would be the one thing. I'll tell you, you know, to be up on Lake Huron, up in Bayfield, at his Lake Simcoe in my place, you know, that would be a dream come true. So, you know, that's a driving motivation for both of us. We were fortunate to win a Memorial Cup together. So really now we're very, very focused on trying to reach our ultimate goal, which is the Stanley Cup.
Amazing.
Moving on to the Kitchener Rangers. So Brady and I had many opportunities as younger kids to go to the Ranger games with the Liebold family, obviously. So just kind of talk about how that opportunity came about and just memories from Kitchener, because obviously it's something that Brady and I have a lot of memories from. We remember watching so many playoff games, regular season games and everything. And I feel like really the entire region of Waterloo is behind you and Pete. Every time you ask someone, whatever, who they're cheering for in the playoffs, or everyone's just always rooting for wherever you guys are, whether we're San Jose or Vegas now. So obviously you guys have left a massive impact on the community around here. So just kind of talk about your time in Kitchener in general and how that opportunity came about.
Well, that impact goes two ways. You know, I think if you talk to Tyler and you talk to my daughter Emma or Matt or Jack or Abby DeBoer, the children, I think they would all say that, you know, for them, Kitchener-Waterloo is home. That's where they grew up. They formed friendships for lifetimes there. For Pete and I and our families, we have formed lifetime friendships. And it started with Ted Scarf. It started with Steve Biankowski, Mike Moore, you know, three gentlemen that targeted Pete when he was available to work outside of Plymouth and brought him to Kitchener. I was fortunate at the time that he brought me along with him as an assistant coach and general manager. And we knew right off the bat we had an opportunity to be successful. When you think about the Kitchener Rangers, and you know, the one word that they throw around quite a bit is community. But they don't throw that around lightly. They truly mean that. The impact that the team has on the community and the community has on the team doesn't go unnoticed. And for us, we could feel that as soon as we got there. Our players that came into town, they knew the level of professionalism had to be a little bit greater. There's no private owner in Kitchener. The board governs the hockey club. So we knew, and our players knew, the expectation of professionalism on and off the ice. The academic opportunities at Laurier, Waterloo, Conestoga College, it truly was a home run for a player to come in and play major junior hockey and work towards a degree at any level. So it truly was an incredible time. And I think about the Memorial Cup in 2003, hosting in 2008. You know, those are memories for a lifetime. Those are pictures that we still have up in our basements because of the fact that that was such a special time in all of our lives. And the impact today to see some of the players that have gone on and have their own children now, it's just amazing to see that the relationships that were formed by those teams that we had in Kitchener And those will be lifetime friendships with our players, obviously for a lifetime too.
And a big part of the Kitchener community and a big, massive part of the Kitchener Rangers, Dan Liebold, who we've mentioned a couple of times now. So I got to ask this question because we've asked everybody that's came through the Rangers organization a question about Dan. But I think I don't think there's going to be anybody that spent as much time with Dan as you that we've talked to. So, and I maybe should have prepped you on this, but is there one story or one moment that comes to mind with Dan Liebold? Because obviously we're close with the family. Is there anything that comes to mind with Dan that you could share?
Well, you know what? I think there's a couple. Number one, I think he's an NHL equipment manager. I think he's an NHL trainer that has decided to devote his time and his passion to the Kitchener Rangers. But I can tell you, he's at the NHL level when it comes to his professionalism. He's a lifesaver. I was there the night Ben Finelli was on the ice, and Dan Liebold simply saved his life. He took matters into his own hands. He took control of a very difficult situation with Ben, and really, to this day, if you talk with Ben, he'll tell you the impact that Dan Liebold played on him that night. And again, that transcends any win, any Memorial Cup, or any OHL championship when you talk to Dan and Ben about that evening. So that was probably the biggest negative with regards to dealing with Dan, but at the same time, the greatest positive, because you saw how he was able to handle a very difficult situation. From there, it's just the day-to-day camaraderie. You know, he's just a calming influence. You know, he's a guy that you can lean on when times are difficult. He gives you an honest opinion. He knows the dressing room. He's players first. He treats those players like they're in the National Hockey League. And he simply is, for me, he's the best of the best in junior hockey. You can see why he works on the World Junior teams because of how good he is. And I've often said it, and I'll say it again on your show, at some point they have to name a room in the Kitchener Memorial Auditorium, the Dan Liebold room. I don't know which room that is, but I think when you look at Ted Scarf, you look at Don Cameron, I do believe that Dan Liebold is in that mold of people, and definitely should have a room named after him at some point.
Love that.
Yeah, that's amazing. And just going off the World Juniors there quickly, so you were part of that in 2010 and 2013. Just kind of talk about that experience and just being able to be with the best of the best for junior hockey players and have that. Like, it's one of the most crazy tournaments in Canada every year. Everyone loves watching it. Everyone tunes in for every game possible. So just kind of talk about representing Canada on an international stage like that.
Yeah, you know, when I was in junior hockey, I had the opportunity a number of times to be involved with it at World Championships and Ivan Halinka's and at World Juniors. It's just amazing the people that you come across. Andre Tourney, who's the new head coach with the Arizona Coyotes, he and I worked together a number of times. And just the staff, equipment people, medical people that you come across through the World Juniors, it truly is the best of the best in junior hockey. And the level of play is second to none, and it's only getting better. We saw that last year with Canada versus the U.S. It's only getting better. So it's an awful lot of pressure. I think for any coach that goes into it, you go into really a bubble when it comes to working at the World Junior tournament. A tremendous amount of pressure for players and for staff of all countries now. One thing I will say is Hockey Canada does an incredible job of eliminating excuses. They give you the best resources, the best access to everything, and your job is to eliminate excuses and give our players the best opportunity to win for Canada. So it's exciting. And now to see Pete representing Canada on an Olympic stage, that really takes things just now to a whole new level. So it's great. We've both been a part of World Championships and World Juniors, but now to see him involved in Canada with the Olympics, boy, that's going to be an exciting time for all of us to watch that in February.
For sure. And just quickly off that, how pumped are you to see NHL players going to that?
It's awesome. You know, we're fortunate in Vegas. We should have a number of players involved in the tournament with different teams. So, you know what, it really is. It's the best of the best. I'm glad we're back at that so that it is becoming the best against the best. And, you know, just talking to Pete, you know, when you look at the different countries and the players that are going to be available, mate, to the Russians and the Finns and the Swedes, the Czechs, the United States, us obviously in Canada, it's going to be the best of the best. So that's an exciting time for all of us.
After your time with the Rangers, you moved on to the AHL with the Toronto Marlies. Just kind of talk about that transition and what was the most difficult thing about transitioning from junior hockey to pro hockey?
You know what? It's a good question. I think, Matt, the biggest transition was dealing with older players. You have players in Kitchener that are 20. You know, you've got players in the American Hockey League that are married, have mortgages, and have children. And it's basing and realizing what your relationships are going to be like with those guys. I had Trevor Smith, my captain, with the Marlies. a tremendous leader, a veteran American Hockey League player. So it was just building relationships with players that were a lot older and a lot more mature, had a lot more experience. From there, I thought working in the American Hockey League was one of the best years I've ever had coaching professionally, because you've got the best players available to you, but they still have a little bit of a junior or NCAA mentality where they need you, they rely on you to help them get to the next level. So I thought the American Hockey League experience was outstanding for my personal development, and one that I really look fondly back upon.
I'm surprised you didn't say the hardest thing was the commute from KW to Toronto, because Ty told us you did that for that full first year.
I did. That's true, Brady. I drove from Waterloo to the Ricoh Center, which is the exhibition every day down on the lakeshore. And you know what? I don't recommend doing it. It was especially in the wintertime, but
yeah.
We finally had to make the move. I think I had a meltdown in the car one day coming home, and I told Lisa that we have to make a decision to move to Toronto. So we ended up making the move the next year, but it was a long year driving back and forth across the 401.
When you hit 19 straight red lights on Lakeshore becomes an issue. What time would you leave in the morning to get there on time?
4:30, 5 o'clock, you're on the road. Yeah, and the only thing I will say about that, guys, is the people on the road at that time are good drivers.
Yeah.
They're usually all professionals trying to get into the city as well. Yeah. So, you know, everyone
respects everyone. Just got to get where you're going.
You did. You grabbed your coffee and you went. So, but no, it was a tough commute. And actually I had some neighbors in Waterloo that worked at different companies that did that drive too, going to Mississauga and still do it to this day. So, you know, hats off to them. That's a huge commitment.
For sure.
Your first NHL game was as a member of the Toronto Maple Leafs. Just talk about that day in general. Like, what was your first experience like being on an NHL bench for your first ever regular season game? Just thinking about it in my mind, I'm sure there would have been a lot of jitters and nerves. Just obviously the NHL is the best of the best. So just talk about that experience and what it was like, and what were your thoughts as your first game approach in the NHL?
You know, you grew up, when I grew up right in the city of Toronto. So I grew up admiring, you know, Darryl Sittler and Tiger Williams and Lanny McDonald and Borje Salming. Those were my idols growing up as a young boy in Toronto. Watching Hockey Night in Canada religiously every Saturday night with my mom and dad. And unfortunately, my dad passed away, so he never got to see that first game. But when I was standing on the bench in the Air Canada Centre, it was against the Montreal Canadiens on Hockey Night in Canada. Wow. I just had to kind of take a look around, and Randy Carlyle gave me a kind of a shove in the arm, and he said, "Are you all right?" And I said, yeah, Randy, I'm good. But it took me a second there, because I was still a fan for that 10 seconds. I just stood there on the bench and really appreciated the opportunity. I wish my dad had seen it in person, but I'm sure he was looking down fondly on that. But for any player that grows up in Canada and has a chance to either play or work on Hockey Night in Canada, it's just one of those very, very special moments.
We've talked to guys that have gone professional and playing, and we kind of asked them about that oh shit moment. And maybe you just said that moment of Randy Carlyle. And when you said Randy Carlyle, I envisioned the voice that we always hear Phil Kessel, or we always used to hear Phil Kessel making fun of Randy Carlyle in that voice. But would you say that was the moment for you, or what's it like for a coach? Is there like, because obviously you got to make some decisions, but you're in that moment too. Was there an oh shit moment for you other than that?
You know what? Again, I think once you've done this for a number of years, whether or not you're in the Kitchener Memorial Auditorium or in the Ricoh Center in the American Hockey League or eventually the Air Canada Center, once you get on that bench, I had that aha moment. But after that, then once the puck drops, you're getting your game face on as well. So, but it was 10 seconds of being pretty surreal. But then when Randy kind of nudged me there and said, "You're good," and I said, "Yeah, we're good. Let's go." But yeah, I think a lot of players probably when they come into Toronto or Montreal, those are some pretty special buildings. I still get that nowadays, guys, when I go to Madison Square Garden. When you go into Madison Square Garden in New York, the busiest arena on the planet. It's a pretty cool building to be into. So Madison Square Garden still gives me that aha moment as well.
Really?
Wow. After your year with the Leafs there, you hadn't worked with Pete in a number of years. Just what went into your decision to join him in San Jose? Obviously, that's moving, pretty well across North America there. Was it a hard decision? Was there any hesitation, or just what went into that for you and your family?
Professionally, it was easy. That wasn't a hard move because we knew the team that we were going to have in San Jose. When Pete and I had talked about going out, we knew professionally it could be a potential home run because we knew the team through Todd McClelland that we were going to be inheriting there. Just a real gifted group of players, led by Joe Thornton, Joe Pavelski, Logan Couture, Brent Burns, Marc-Edouard Vlasic,
Marlowe.
Patrick Marlowe. We had, a wealth of riches when it came to skill and character on that team. The hard part, as you alluded to, Matt, was my family. So it was hard. We both elected to leave our families back at home, allow them to concentrate on their own activities and their own interests. For Sue DeBoer and Lisa Spott, that was an awful lot to ask of them because they had to become professional taxi drivers, psychologists with kids that are teenagers. It was a huge ask of our wives, but thankfully we got through that. I'd like to think that our kids are somewhat well adjusted, but at that time, professionally it was great. Personally, it was very difficult.
Talk a little more about that first year. You said some of the names on there, but going into that dressing room, I assume at times for young coaches, it's tough going into a room with guys like that. You said like Joe Thornton, Patrick Marlowe, obviously veterans in the league, and they're still in the league. But is it tough at times to go from Toronto had a bit of a younger team and then going to San Jose, more veteran team? Do you have to change up strategies a lot when it comes to something like that?
They made it real easy on Pete and I can remember talking with Joe Thornton. As an assistant coach, part of our job is to present video to players after games, the next day in practice, things they do well, maybe areas that they can improve on. And I remember talking to Jumbo saying, Jumbo, where are you at with video? Like, do you want me to come to you if I have something? He's played in the league for a number of years. He's a Hall of Famer. Do you still want it? Absolutely, he said, Spotter. I need to see it. Patrick Marlowe, same thing. Yeah, Spotter, I need to see it. And the great thing about those two guys was how early they would be on the ice before practice. Never miss pregame skates. And the messaging that they sent to our young players, really, they became surrogate coaches for Pete and I because of the messaging that they were sending our players was second to none. So for us, that was wonderful. It was a great year. We lost to Pittsburgh in the Stanley Cup Final that year. But again, Joe Pavelski and Brent Burns were in town this summer with their sons for minor hockey tournaments. We had a chance to go watch their children play, Pete and I. So again, it's just friendships and relationships that we built for a lifetime.
And that kind of leads into my next question there, that Stanley Cup run in 2016. Unfortunately, you guys did lose to Pittsburgh in the finals, but it was a heck of a run. Just talk about what it was like to be on a bench for a Stanley Cup final, playing against historic players such as Sidney Crosby, who will go down one of the greatest players of all time, and just being a part of that atmosphere. And obviously the Stanley Cup finals is something that every kid dreams of being a part of.
Again, it just incredible because there's no more out of town scoreboard. It's just you versus Pittsburgh. That's all you're dealing with now every night, and your focus, your concentration, your scouting reports are only on Pittsburgh. So for us, it was wonderful. It was Pete's second opportunity. He had lost a tough one to Los Angeles when he was in New Jersey, so he had been through one already. But for us, it was excellent. Going cross country. Playing against Pittsburgh and just an incredible building in Pittsburgh. Obviously, the Shark Tank in San Jose was vibrant too. So just an incredible experience for all of us. As you said, it would have been great to win it, but again, just to get to that level, we talk to minor hockey parents all the time, and to think that you've got a son or a daughter that's playing minor hockey and to get to the ultimate level. It's so hard. And then for our players to get to the Stanley Cup final is so many steps above too. So to get to that level was great. Here in Vegas now, we hope to get back there again. And that's definitely where our focus is.
And then, 5 years in San Jose and then moving to Vegas. And that's what I wanted to go to, Vegas. Joining the team halfway through the 2019-2020 season. How different, obviously it's a team you played a lot in your time in San Jose when they came into the league. How different was it switching sides kind of thing and then going back to play San Jose?
Well, the best way I could probably put it for your show is imagine coaching the Kitchener Rangers and then the next week coming in and coaching the London Knights. That's probably the best way to put that. That's the level of rivalry between Kitchener and London, or Guelph and Kitchener, and that you had between Vegas and San Jose. So when Pete and I got the opportunity here, I can tell you when we walked in the very first time into the locker room, Pete was in Ottawa for his first game. I joined the team about a week later. It wasn't like there was big hugs coming up and saying, "Hey, welcome aboard."
That's what I wanted to ask.
No, and that's why I think for any young coach, and we've talked about this already, you have to allow relationships to form and to build. They have to grow organically.
Yeah.
Get to know the players, get to know about themselves, their families, and obviously build a level of trust, because it doesn't happen overnight, especially when you had a game 7 that took place months previous.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden we're coaching the Vegas Golden Knights. But I can tell you now, it's just been a home run working with the players here, and the way things have gone here has been outstanding. But for that first week, I can assure you that we were on pins and needles.
Well, I had to ask, and we'll move on from this in a second, but is there conversations had in the dressing room, like early on when you and Pete joined the team? Like, do you gotta, hey, so about last year, like, do you talk about that, or is it just kind of like, all right, it's this year now, let's get to work?
Well, I remember Pete, we had talked about it, because he stayed at my house. He was in Florida, flew to Toronto, stayed with me, and he said, I got to get to Ottawa tomorrow. And we talked about what's your icebreaker going to be? How are you going to address the team when you go in there? And if you recall, Cody Eakin tripped up Joe Pavelski on a face-off. And a difficult situation. Pavelski got hurt. Eakes got a 5-minute major, which I think when you watch it back, everybody knows that was probably the wrong call. So I think the idea Pete had was going in was, letting Cody Eakin know that was a really bad call. So he went from supporting Pav on this team to telling Cody Eakin on this team that
was a brutal call.
It was a bad call. So, what I think it was an icebreaker. I think that all the guys started to get a good laugh at. I think anybody that knows Pete, you talked about it earlier, Brady, the way he is with the media, he's the same way with the players. He's very intense, but his levels of communication are second to none. And I knew he'd have a good icebreaker to go there to loosen the guys up, because it was tough for them. They had a great relationship with Turk, with Mike Kelly. And when they were relieved of their duties and Pete and I came in, that had to be hard on the players. So we fully understood and respected that.
Awesome.
We've appreciated the time you've took for us today. Last question for me. What is your favorite travel destination when traveling around from city to city?
Oh, we're fortunate at this level. We really are. But I think anytime we get into New York, it's great. There's so much to do. Obviously, coming home to Toronto, that's home. But I think for all of us, when we get to go to New York, you usually get to base there for a little bit, because you play the Rangers, the Islanders, the Devils, sometimes Philadelphia. So you get to be in there maybe for a week to 10 days sometimes. So for me, it's New York. For other players, it might be, maybe South Florida, Tampa. But for me, it's New York. But I am excited about going to Seattle, Matt. I got to be honest with you. I've never been there before. I've heard great things about it. So, maybe we can talk in next summer about my experience in Seattle, because I've heard the building is second to none. I've heard the city is phenomenal. So I'm looking forward to seeing Seattle this year.
I've 2 more quick ones, and then we'll let you go. First one, living in Vegas, you hear questions asked to the guys that played on the team, because that was a big question that was asked going into a team forming in Vegas. Guys aren't living on the Strip, or you guys aren't living on the Strip, right? You're outside of the city?
I think my mother gave you that question. I'm sure my mother gave you that question. No, we live. So the best way I can describe it, and I can describe this best for your show, is you've got Kitchener, Waterloo, and Cambridge. You've got the Tri-Cities.
Yeah.
We have Henderson, the Strip, and Summerlin. So we have 3 areas as well. Okay. So you've got the Strip in the middle. Our American League team and the NFL, the Raiders, they train in Henderson. And then you go back to the Strip. We're out here in Summerlin. So we would kind of be Cambridge. The Strip would be Kitchener. Henderson would be Waterloo, if that makes any sense. You've kind of got the Tri-City area.
I like that.
Yeah, we're out in Summerlin. Our practice rink is out here. It's absolutely if you come to Vegas, this is an area everybody should come to. It's a beautiful residential area, but we're about 25 minutes off the Strip. So far enough we can get there, but we don't go very, very often.
Because I had the opportunity to go to Vegas for my honeymoon, and I could just swore when I went there that nobody actually lived there. People just came there, but that's good to know. So if there's a next time, we'll go visit there. And then last question, we forgot to ask this when we were talking about Kitchener. We have to go to this Memorial Cup. Was it 03-04 or 02-03? It
was 02-03.
02-03. So that year, obviously, there's lots of stories. That's a massive year for anybody in Kitchener that can remember that. We were a little young, but I do have some memories from it. Listening to stories, there's one of Derek Roy kind of giving an emotional speech, or is there one story or one moment that you can give our listeners from that Memorial Cup run that maybe hasn't been told or has been told, and it's just a great story?
Well, the one that we tell, and Royce does tell this one quite a bit, was in Plymouth. When we had a chance to be knocked out in Plymouth. And we thought that if we could beat Plymouth that night, we would win the Memorial Cup. We didn't even talk about winning the OHL championship. We talked in the locker room that if we beat Plymouth tonight, we will win the Memorial Cup. And we went on to beat Plymouth, obviously at home, beat the Ottawa 67s, and then went on and won the Memorial Cup. That's one that was legendary. The other one was losing to Kelowna in Quebec during the Memorial Cup when Gregory Campbell got up and basically unloaded in the dressing room, Gatorade coolers, and he was very emotional with regards to this was our opportunity and we didn't want to let it go by. We weren't playing great to start the game against Kelowna, and Gregory basically did our job for us. He got up and set the tempo of the room, and the rest is history. So just tremendous leadership with that group, with Gregory Campbell, Derek Roy, Steve Eminger, David Clarkson. Just blessed to have a wealth of veteran guys that went on to have great NHL careers and made Pete's and my job as young coaches real easy.
That's awesome. Well, Steve, this has been amazing. And actually, one thing I do have to say is we were absolutely amazed when we were talking to Ty that he remembered what Kids and Cops were in Wellesley. I don't know how much memory you have of that, but we were amazed that he remembered that and witnessed us. And we called the orchard, the apple orchard in Wellesley there.
Yeah, that was like the best event for us as kids.
Oh, yeah.
But one thing he never told you, he was afraid of text. I'll never forget that. He was always afraid of text. He would run the other way. He was afraid of mascots. But I'll tell you what, no, you think about Kids and Cops, Dan Liebold, and obviously, Waterloo Regional Police Services. We had the greatest relationship, and I know they still do, in Kitchener with Waterloo Regional Police Services. So that's something Dan Liebold sunk his teeth into, and just a tremendous program. But it does go to show you, I've got a 21-year-old son, the impact that it played on his life years ago. So it obviously shows you how great a program it is, and it was.
For sure. Well, you've been really generous with your time. I know this is busiest time of the year for you, so we're gonna let you go. Hopefully someday we can reconnect because we've definitely met. We were really little, and you won't remember it, but we definitely remember it. So hopefully someday we can reconnect. And good luck with Vegas this season, unless you're playing the Leafs.
Thanks a lot, guys, and all the best with the show. Thanks for having me on.
Have a good one. Thank you.
You too.